Well, g'day. This is Iron Horse here. Trying to do a little bit of an update. For those who know me, you know that I'm not a great public speaker. I'm not the best debater ever. I've got a bit of passion in my heart, and I give it a go when I get a chance. And I'm also one of these people that I hit record on my device here, like I've just done, and I just speak and waffle on, and generally have no idea what I was really particularly going to talk about until it just comes blurting out my mouth, and that's just how I roll. I don't put it into a video editor and edit out all the blank bits and get rid of all the stupid bits that I should have got rid of. I sometimes remember that there is a pause button and try to use that. I recently made another rant, tried to update my current situation, where I just wanted to let people know about, as I said, when I took an arrow to the knee, it turns out it was a little bit, not so much an arrow as actually a snake bite, as far-fetched as it sounds, and I do have a very valid reason to believe why that was the case. After going to the hospital, the one place in the world that I would go to last, I'd rather go to the mortuary in most instances first before going to a hospital. That's how I feel about hospitals. But I eventually, because of the pain, succumbed, called an ambulance, went to the hospital, got disbelieved by everybody because I'd taken all the steps to basically heal myself anyway. So basically I was already on the mend by the time they got their dirty mitts on me and shoved needles into my knee and bloody tried to draw fluids out and caused me way more pain than I really needed in the first place. But when you're in a lot of pain, you end up stop thinking clearly after a week or so. And that was the 10th day of some pretty serious, intense pain where I could put no weight on my leg whatsoever, and had some fairly genuine feelings that maybe I'm not so long for the world, so I thought I'd try and tell a few of the secrets or some of the things I know about the flat earth model. And as it turns out, I made another video the other day because I realized, holy crap, hey, my channel's actually growing. I don't know why, because I don't do much to promote it or anything. And I realized I had 713 videos and I had 714 subscribers. I thought, oh, well, let's make it even. I'll make a 714th video. I ranted for like 42 minutes and some change. And at the end of it, well, I haven't even actually listened to it because more often than not, such long rants are pretty meaningless. And now that I've started this one, I get a little timer comes up on my recording device because I do it all via my phone, unedited, as I said. And it tells me that I've got a total of 18 minutes and 15 seconds, and I've already wasted 3.5 minutes ranting about absolutely nothing. And so what I have to do basically is go back and delete that 40-odd minute one, and I can make another 40-odd minute one, or even up to an hour, as it turns out, which I didn't do before starting this because I had no idea that I only had 18 minutes of recording time. So let's just bear with it, shall we? Grrr. That was a grizzly bear, in case you didn't get that. So the flat earth model is a pretty important and very difficult to grasp thing until you grasp a whole heap of basic fundamentals, and it took me a very long time. And so I'm sure you can appreciate that when I first grasped the flat earth concept, all of it made a lot of sense to me, because this is the sort of thing that I've been fascinated with my entire life. The moon, the oceans, the land, our position in space, the way everything is connected on a universal scale. All this stuff was my cup of tea, my glass of beer, if you will. And speaking of which, the throat is getting a tad itchy, so we will have a little, hang on. So sufficiently lubricated in the straight dip up. I shall carry on. And where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, the flat Earth model. Now I was going to eventually get to the moon, but this is going to take time because the flat Earth model is not as simple as the heliocentric model. The heliocentric model is great because it's something that you can make in a classroom with a bunch of little balls, little styrofoam balls of various sizes and bits of wire, and bend them up and have them all spinning around the sun. And it kind of works because it seems like small minds love small models. They love to be able to think of things in little terms that they can comprehend. Whereas the flat earther realizes that our model is this external stuff. It's out there. It's not something we can build into a tiny little desktop model and say, see, here, this is how it works. That is not how it works. It works because that bright, shiny thing behind me over there that I'm lovingly taking into my back at this time of year, it's getting pretty close to our winter solstice here. So this time of year, I just love the sun. When I get a day like this, it's just glorious and beautiful. So our model requires full scale. But the weird thing about it is the full scale is actually much tinier than we think, and at the same time much bigger or broader than we can comprehend. It's part of the weirdest thing of reality. And the simplest way to describe the very first thing of perspective is that everything rises to eye level. When you're standing upright and you're looking out horizontally, everything converges to that point. The ground beneath you is ramping up to the eyes. Everything above you is sloping downwards towards the eyes. Something you can easily do, as I've shown in my perspective videos, the first one on the perspective playlist that I have with the brick wall. It shows exactly how only the parallel line at eye level is horizontal and everything else converges towards that point. It's an inescapable law of perspective. That's an inescapable law of beer. So once you can grasp that, you can start putting the pieces together. If you don't grasp that the horizon is ramping up to eye level, and then grasp that you are tiny, we are tiny, we're like 6 foot tall, we're like not even ants on a basketball, we're like amoebas on a really, really big rock. But it's not a ball. Okay, the earth is not a ball. That thing of perspective causing it to ramp upwards is what originally created the delusion of us living on a sphere, because you see a cut-off point, you see a ship go past the convergence point, and you see the bottom getting obscured. It kind of makes sense in a way that the boat is going over a curve because the bottom's been obscured while the top is upright. But that is not at all how a ball works. If you actually took a ball, a sphere, like use an orange if you will, take whatever you can, something that you can poke straight sticks into, and be very careful. Like the best way is probably to sit it on a flat surface and get the highest point, which you can check with a level all around so you know it's the highest point, and get a skewer and poke it through directly through the center, and then keep on doing that multiple times. So keep rotating it a bit, do it again and again and again, so that you know that each and every skewer is going directly towards the center, which is on the spherical earth. They say that is the center of gravity, so that gives us your up-down direction. Now then, once you've got a bunch of skewers all around on as much of the orange or whatever sort of ball you're using that you can, then lift it up and poke them all through so that they protrude through all sides. So you've got this big spiky ball. Now what you do then is just take one of them, look at it upright, and then turn the ball away from you until that skewer, the bottom part of it, is hidden from your view. And what you will find is something that you least suspected, especially if you're still a globe believer. You will find that the moment the bottom of that skewer is obscured from your view, so is the top of it, because that is how curvature works. If something is perpendicular to the curve of a sphere, then the entire object is perpendicular to that curve. So if a ship is going over a curve and the bottom gets obscured because of curvature, then the top of it will similarly be obscured from view at the same time, because the entire ship must be perpendicular to that curve. It's such a simple thing, but the globe head cannot comprehend such simple things, because they've been told that things will disappear bottom first over a curve, without thinking, hang on, if it's convergence, creating a convergence point at eye level, then that too will create a cutoff point. But why would it even raise to eye level in the first place? I mean, if you did it with your orange, you could hold it down low and do that and get the same result. You can put it up high and turn it and get the same result. You can leave it at eye level and turn it, get the same result. But there is no reason why the earth that we live upon should, if we're on it, be rising up to eye level in the first place, because we can't physically lift it. You know, it is where it is according to how we see it. And if you were, in, say, in the middle of the ocean and standing on a raft, then that eye level horizon is going to be at eye level all the way around you. And this is the biggest problem for the glober, because the higher they get, the more the horizon keeps rising all the way around. Now that does not describe a sphere at all. The moment you get higher above a sphere, it will drop. It should be dropping immediately, even where you're standing on the shore. It shouldn't be rising to eye level in the first place. It should just be dropping away immediately, so that in 3 miles there is sufficient drop that the horizon will be at foot level. Not eye level, at foot level. Now, yeah, you might say, well, at 3 miles you can't see 6 feet of drop. It just seems to be eye level. Fine, that's okay. Get up higher. Go up as high as you like. The same thing happens. The horizon is still at eye level. Now you will get these smarty pants. Oh yeah, but we can use a theodolite app and we can see drop. Well, yeah. On a flat surface, you should expect drop. That's called altitude. It's called height above the level, which you know is X amount of feet or meters or whatever beneath you. It shouldn't be at eye level, but visually, it is always at eye level. This is just the way perspective works. The theodolite has the ability to overcome those limitations of our eyesight and tell you that this tiny little amount of drop is actually what your altitude would look like at the distance that you can see across a flat surface by the time you reach that certain height. And the ratio is approximately 1 to 3,000. So if you're 1 meter high, 3 kilometers is your drop-off point. 2 meters high, 6 kilometers is your drop-off point. 600 meters high, you're going to be seeing a very long way, to the point where the horizon itself is going to be obscured because of all the various atmospheric factors that obscure the horizon. You've also got another factor of distance diminution, or diminution, where everything, as it gets further away from you, appears to get smaller and smaller. So you're seeing more and more stuff in a smaller and smaller area the further it gets. So you're basically looking eventually into a point of infinity, where everything exists, into a point of zero angular resolution, so you can make nothing out, and that's the horizon. It just seems more clear and defined the lower down you are, because the closer you are to it, the higher you get, the more and more hazy it gets, and the more you look into it, the more you will see. And so I can just see the time ticking away here, 3 minutes left to go. And I really wanted to start talking, just touching upon the nature of light. So I will quickly touch upon it. And that is, the sun is not daylight. The sun creates sunlight, so you can see definite shadows. I can see definite shadows all around me here. If you are in a room where you open up a curtain and there's no direct sunlight coming in whatsoever, the entire room lights up because of daylight. They call it Rayleigh scattering. That's a fancy term for what's happening, but what's really happening is the noble gases creating the blue sky are simply excited by the stimulus of the sun, the energy that comes from the sun, solar energy. It's powerful stuff. And so it stimulates the noble gases to glow, and it creates daylight. And the majority of these gases consist of argon, krypton, neon, helium, plus all your other normal gases that we all know and understand. What's the main one? Nitrogen, oxygen, all those sort of things. So when they're stimulated, it creates the colour blue, and that is why the sky is blue. And when the sun is obscured from view, it stops stimulating those gases as much. And then the ones that are stimulated sufficiently are the ones more like neon, which gives us those beautiful oranges and yellows and pinks and reds, all the different things. But all the colours of daylight can actually be simulated by neon itself. Just depends on the intensity of and concentration of the gas and the energy given to it. So the sun is the power source which is stimulating the gases to glow, and that's what gives us light. And you, as I say, you do not need direct sunlight to light an entire room. It's just like when you have a fluorescent bulb, you might even put a strip of tape a few inches underneath it or whatever and cover the whole thing with enough gap, but the light that scatters around it is still sufficient to light up the room. So daylight and sunlight they're related together, but they are not the same thing. And geez, I wish I'd deleted the other video. I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this shortly. The noble gases that create daylight also have another gas called krypton. And krypton reacts to the solar energy reflected off a thing that we call the moon. And that's what creates a holographic plasma projection that we call the moon. But that's not the moon, it's just the projection from the moon. And I will be back and continue this rant soon. See ya.